Hey, welcome. So let's just get right into it. We all think we know the story of Snow White, right? But what if I told you that hidden under all that, under the glass coffin and the poisoned apple, there's a secret code? A detailed map, actually, for one of the biggest journeys anyone can take, the journey inward.
I mean, we've always thought of it as just a simple children's story, yeah? Something to entertain us before we fall asleep. And, that's what most of us have been led to believe our whole lives.
But what if it's something more? The source material we're digging into today suggests that fairy tales like Snow White are actually ancient signposts, kind of like spiritual text, really, designed to guide us through the wilderness of our own minds.
See, these stories, the ones the Brothers Grimm collected, they didn't just make them up out of thin air. These are ancient folk tales, passed down for who knows how long, and they are just soaked in this deep, almost mystical wisdom about the human journey, about finding out who we really are.
Just think about how it all starts. It's not with once upon a time. It's with the queen at her spinning wheel. She pricks her finger and 3 drops of blood fall on the snow. And in that moment, she makes a wish, a powerful statement of belief for a child. And poof, that belief literally manifests Snow White into existence. This whole thing kicks off with the power of creation itself.
But of course, with creation comes conflict. After her mother dies, Snow White's new stepmother, the Wicked Queen, shows up, and she brings the story's central battle with her. And listen, this isn't just some fight between 2 characters. It's a battle that rages inside every single one of us.
Okay, so this is the absolute key to cracking the whole code. On one side, you've got Snow White. She represents our spirit, our pure potential, our godly nature. And on the other side, the Wicked Queen. She is our ego, that vain, insecure part of our identity, our lower self, the Goliath to our inner David.
This line, this is the classic cry of the ego, isn't it? The ego absolutely cannot stand the existence of our pure spiritual nature. Because deep down, the spirit is always fairer. It feels threatened. And what does the ego do when it's threatened? It tries to destroy the spirit. It sends Snow White out into the wilderness to be killed.
But here's the twist. This trip into the forest isn't a tragedy. It's actually a necessary step. To find her true power, Snow White has to get lost in the wilderness of the self, just like so many spiritual figures have done all throughout history.
And what does she find out there? A little cottage belonging to 7 dwarfs. Now, that number 7, it's not random, not at all. In so many spiritual traditions, 7 is the number of completion. Think about the 7 chakras in Hinduism, or even the 7 endocrine glands in the body. The dwarfs, they're the story's way of showing us the complete self.
But to earn the protection of this complete self, Snow White, a princess, has to do some pretty humble work. She's got to cook and clean. This is a beautiful picture of what it takes, humbling our spirit, letting go of our status and our pride just to find safety in union within our own being.
But even in this safe place, the ego is relentless. It will always come back to tempt us. The queen, thinking Snow White is long gone, checks in with her mirror and finds out the truth. So now she's on a mission to destroy her rival once and for all.
So the queen makes 3 separate attempts on Snow White's life, and each one of these reveals a very specific temptation the ego uses to attack our spiritual nature.
First up are the laces, which symbolize our desire for material things. They're tied so tight they literally cut her off from her breath, the light of God. Next is the poisoned comb, a tool of vanity and self-image that sends her into a deep sleep of unconsciousness. And finally, the apple, the big one. It represents indulgence and gluttony, and it leads to a spiritual death.
And this explains perfectly why the apple works. In this story, the queen eats the other half, the non-poisoned half, and she's totally fine. Why? Because the ego can survive on worldly things. It can live on bread alone. But the spirit, it can't. It needs spiritual nourishment, and that poisoned apple is the ultimate worldly distraction.
So, it seems like it's over. Snow White appears to be dead. The dwarves, heartbroken, place her in a glass coffin. But this isn't the end, not even close. It's actually the beginning of the final and most important stage of her transformation.
Now, this is where the story most of us know gets it totally, completely wrong. Seriously, forget the Disney version. In the original folktale, there is no true love's kiss. What happens is the prince's men are carrying the coffin, one of them stumbles, they drop it, and the piece of apple is physically jolted right out of her throat.
So what does the prince even represent then? Well, he is the masculine principle. His arrival signifies the integration of opposites. You know, in some symbolic traditions, you can see this union in the very construction of ancient words. Like, one interpretation of the word Israel breaks it down into Isis for the feminine, Ra for the masculine. The point is, this moment is all about becoming whole.
So the crucial point here is this is not about finding your romantic partner. The awakening is about finding and integrating all the parts of yourself, the masculine and the feminine, the light and the dark, your spirit and your shadow. It's about achieving that union inside yourself.
And with this union comes a wedding, which symbolizes the permanent integration of the whole self. And of course, the ego, the wicked queen. She has to show up. She just can't stand to see the spirit thriving and whole.
This final showdown is foreshadowed in so many spiritual texts. It's not just about winning. It's about purification. It is the final, fiery destruction of the lower self.
And this is where the story gets really gruesome, but the symbolism is just so incredibly powerful. The queen is forced to put on red-hot iron shoes and literally dance until she drops dead. This is the baptism by fire. The ego is being subjected to a higher state of consciousness that it simply cannot survive.
And in that fiery dance, all of it, the vanity, the insecurity, the self-identity that held the spirit prisoner for so long, it all just burns away. Completely. Permanently.
So you see, this ancient story isn't just about a princess. It's a map. It tells us that our own ego is the wicked queen, and it's constantly trying to sabotage our true spiritual nature. So the question this story leaves us with is a really personal one. How are you going to find your seven dwarfs, integrate your whole self, and heat up those iron shoes?